See my screen? Okay. Awesome. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Value Bomb Wednesday. I am super excited to walk you guys through on today's topic. We're talking about the credit analysis. So, how to analyze your credit to get the maximum funding. So, this is going to be one of the most crucial parts before you even get into business credit, because this is going to let you know if you're even ready to start applying. A lot of people, they hear business credit and they're just like, all right, cool, let's get right into applications. And then once they get into the applications, they either get denied or they only walk out of the bank with, 2K, 5K, very low limits. And they're like, what the heck happened? So in order to avoid any of those mistakes or any of those failures, I'm going to walk you guys through on how to properly analyze your credit to get maximum funding. So boom. So here's what we're going to talk about: why it's important, what you're going to get out of it, how to get access to your credit report, how to actually fill out the credit analysis sheet, and then more importantly, once we know where we're at, how do we reverse engineer any damage that's done to further optimize the different aspects of our credit profile. So boom. So why is this important? One, the way I like to visualize the credit analysis, it's kind of like Google Maps, right? We know what we want and where we're trying to go. We want to get 100K plus and 0% funding to get more real estate deals. So that's our point B destination we want to go. But before we get there, we need to know our point A position, where our starting point is. And the credit analysis is your point A position. Now, the other thing too is, I kind of mentioned this, right? You don't want to just shoot for the moon and pray we hit, right? Not knowing your point A is kind of like stumbling through a room with all the lights off and just taking a shot in the dark. So the last thing we want to do is just throw a bunch of applications at the wall and just hope something sticks, because we need a systemic, rinse and repeatable process to get great results over and over and over again. And something very important when it comes to business credit is all about having relationships with these banks. I've seen this many times where they'll try to go out applying for business credit on their own. They don't really know what they're doing, and they only get, let's say, a 5K limit. But a lot of these banks, they have multiple 0% business credit cards. And if you only get approved for, let's say, a 5K limit on the first round and you try to apply shortly after, odds are you're going to get another limit similar around that range. So that's why we need to get this down right from the beginning. So know where we're at. And then the third point I want to make is how I kind of visualize the credit analysis. It's kind of like we need to be a doctor and we need to diagnose what's wrong. So by knowing our starting point, we can properly diagnose any areas that are not optimized to set ourselves up for the best chances for success. Once we know what that treatment needs to be, our profiles will be healthy enough to get approved for these, 10, 15, 25, 45, 50, 60, 75K credit card limits that we could easily pull the cash from and just start using it as the down payments or the startup costs for these different real estate deals. So now that we know why we're here, let's get into the nitty gritty of actually how do we do this. So first things first is we need to get access to our credit report, right? I got a couple different options here. These are all free. So these are the three main ways of looking at your credit report. Again, best of all, they're all free. If you stick around for the fourth, I'll give you a bonus one that will kind of blow your socks off, that you won't have to pay for any of it. And it gives you all three bureaus. So number one is the annualcreditreport.com. This allows you to get a 3-bureau FICO score and full credit report of, you got Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. The other one is IDIQ. They offer, I believe it's a 2-day free trial. So for the purpose of this, just opt in for the free trial and then do what you got to do. And then you could just cancel it. Otherwise, I believe it's like $30 a month, which isn't too bad if you guys are going to take this seriously. The other one is Credit Karma. Now, just as a kind of warning for Credit Karma, is They are not always accurate. So they show your Vantage score. So that's the way I like to think of Vantage versus FICO is Vantage is more of like an estimate of what your FICO score is. And when you're asking for funding from any lender, they're going to be looking at FICO. But this gives you at least an estimate of where you could expect where you're going to be at. And it still shows you, you know, your utilizations, your payment history, inquiries, and all that. But this only will show you for Equifax and TransUnion. The fourth one, this is an ultimate hack, is there's a way of checking all three bureaus for Experian absolutely free. Normally you have to pay like $25 to $30 a month for it, but I found a hack that allows you to get it completely free, and you can do this over and over and over again. If you guys want that exact gameplay, make sure to comment Experian in the comments below, and I'll send you guys the SOP for that. It'll take me a little while to just go through this. So just comment Experian and I'll drop it and send that over to you guys. So boom. Now that we have access to our credit reports, next thing is filling out the credit analysis sheet. So if you guys want access to this sheet, make sure to comment the word analysis, and I'll drop the link actually in the comments so you guys could actually start filling it out. But what I want to do right now is let me kind of run you guys through this. So this is with the credit analysis sheet. I'm going to actually use myself as an example so you guys know how to actually do it. So, you know, start off with the date. This is very important just because your credit's going to keep changing. So we want to have the most accurate, up-to-date info. So if we're basing a game plan that was made off of your credit reports like 5 months ago, it probably might be a lot different than what we need to do now. So make sure to set the date. Today's the 29th, 24, credit score. So we're going to fill this out. I'm going to log into Experian right now. So I'm going to give you guys a full credit analysis on my profile and just kind of talk out loud and start reverse engineering everything once we fill this out. So I'm not going to do all three bureaus because it's going to take us a while, but I'll just focus just on Experian. We're going to click no, keep my membership, because they're going to try to make you pay. And from here, you're going to go to the top left, click credit reports. Highly recommend doing this off a desktop. If you're doing it off your phone, the user interface is a little different, but go to credit reports. We know I have a 767, so make sure to fill that out. Boom, 767. And then the other big thing is we want to know how many hard inquiries we have on Experian within the last 6 months and then within the last 12 months. So scroll down here. We'll show all the hard inquiries we have within the last 6 months. So we have 3. Make sure to fill that part out. And then any negatives. Typically, to find the negatives on here, I don't have any, but you'll see if you have any collections here. What else? And then you could also go to credit overview just to make sure if there's any other negatives. Click on payment history here, and it'll say if you have any late payments, collections, anything else, but I have 100%, so I could just avoid filling out this negative section. Now, this next part's really important, is we want to know how many accounts we have and what type of accounts that we have. So are they personal credit cards, auto lending services, home loans, personal loans, whatever it is. So going from here, we're going to make sure we go back over to credit reports, scroll down, and boom, here are all my accounts. Credit cards or credit lines. So what I'm going to do here is click on each one, and I'm going to look at, when was this open? So this was December 14th, 2023. So you got this with Amex. There's a revolving account because it's like a normal credit card. And then when it asks for bureau code, we're going to say primary because I'm the primary account holder, not an authorized user. This was open in 12/13/23. The balance on it is 0, and I have a $5,000 credit limit. And then I'm just going to keep doing that for each one. This one's 2988 at 30%. 88, Chase, evolving, primary, and then if you guys give me a second, I'll explain why all this is important. But for now, let's just fill this out, and then I'll just kind of start word bombing and explain why all this is important. So this was opened in July 2nd of 2019. And then go on to the next one. June 22, 2020. And then it says 0 out of the 20,500. And then we got another one for 1,100. This was open June 8th, 2020. Oops. 1,100. And then, yeah, just bear with me. I got like 2 more. So I got 2 Wells Fargo cards, one at 10,500. That was my oldest, 9/24/2014. 500. And then the last credit card, we've got 10,500, March 31, 2023. And then using 0 out of the 10,500. And then also too, don't forget to add any other loans or leases. So I got my Toyota Tacoma. That was June 13th, 2023. Six 13/23. And then so I paid about like 16,000 out of the 56,000 on that one. Okay, cool. So now we have an idea of where all that's at. Average credit age. We're gonna want to go back over to credit and go to overview. And then go to length of credit history. Average credit history is 3 years and 9 months. Number of primary accounts, I've got 7. Authorized users, 0. And then we've got Chase, Wells Fargo. And then I'll skip all this part, but the other thing that's important is also if you already have an LLC set up, make sure to put the code or the LLC industry. So we're consulting, LLC age 2 years. We're registered in Wyoming. And then this is the Motive Miggle brand. Cool. So now that you've done all this, the credit analysis is completely filled out. Now, what I want to walk you guys through is I'm just going to kind of think out loud and walk you through each section, why it's important, and how we can kind of reverse engineer it into a way to where it's more optimized if it's not already there. So starting off with the credit score, I always tell people banks don't just look at credit score, they look at credit profile. But if we have an optimized credit score and an optimized credit profile, we're showing the banks that we're trustworthy borrowers, right? So as far as having an optimized credit score, we want to have at least a 700 and plus. As long as you're above 700, you've got really good chances of getting approved. Doesn't mean you're going to get approved for high limits. There's a lot more that goes into it, but seeing here, we're at a 767. So we're good there. The other thing too is hard inquiries. So hard inquiries, they stay on your file for 2 whole years until they fall off. And when it comes to inquiries, banks typically only care how many hard inquiries are done within the last 6 months. So typically you don't want to have more than 3 within the last 6 months, or you don't want to have more than 5 within the last 12 months. Now, if you already are past that threshold, there are ways of being able to wipe off those hard inquiries off your credit profile so you don't have to wait the full 2 years. Because when it comes to inquiries, if a bank sees you applying for so many different credit cards and racking up all these inquiries, it makes you look like you're very money hungry and desperate. And the banks don't want to give to somebody who looks like they're in dire need of it, just because you look like a more risky borrower. So if you're above this 3 and 6 months or above in 5 months, and you want to learn how to wipe off the hard inquiries off your credit profile and not have to wait the 2 years for them to fall off, then comment the word inquiry, and we'll see about creating an SOP for that, or even just a live like I'm doing now. Now, the other big important thing here is negatives. So on-time payment history, this is one of the most important aspects that banks look. Like, even if you miss one payment, you get a late payment or a collection or anything, it looks really bad to the banks, and they aren't going to trust you as much as far as giving you funding. So for me, I don't have any. But if you have something like late payments, collections, even like a bankruptcy, there are ways of being able to get those negatives removed off your profile through what's called credit repair. Now, when it comes to credit repair, you kind of got two options. Either you could learn how to do it yourself. I'll warn you right now, it does take a lot of work to learn it because there's so many like loopholes and ins and outs of it. Or you could do the done for you route. And basically, with credit repair, you're legally allowed to dispute anything that you think is inaccurate off of your credit profile, and the burden is on the creditor to get it to prove you wrong. And most times, they're dealing with so many customers, they have to prove you wrong within 30 days, and if they can't, then they legally have to take it off. Now, you can go through the done for you credit repair route. I actually have a team where we service that. We kind of do things differently. Instead of sending legal letters back and forth to the creditors and them sending it back to us, we actually scrub the back end code of the bureaus of Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion and actually just make it disappear. I've already done this with numerous clients of mine. I helped one client remove, literally in like 6 weeks, we got a repo and 5 collections off. So now she didn't have to pay, it was about like $15,000 or $17,000 in debt. So really cool for her, right? So as far as negatives, if you have them, that's the solution. Learn it yourself or go for the done for you. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about credit repair, then just comment repair and, we'll reach out to you directly. Now, other big thing is accounts. So when it comes to accounts, banks, especially for applying for business credit cards, if you're going to Chase Bank and you're asking, hey, I want to get approved for 100K at 0%, yet they only see you with one credit card that was opened yesterday that has a maxed out credit card and the limit's only like, let's say 5,000, you don't look like the most trustworthy borrower. So when it comes to credit card accounts, we want to have at least 3 personal credit cards, right? 3 personal credit cards. We want to keep our utilizations below 30%, preferably 20% and below, but 30% is the absolute max. And typically you want to have an average of 10K per card to show the banks that when you apply for business credit, they can trust you with higher limits. So looking at this, we have 6 personal credit card accounts and 1 auto loan. So that looks really good to the banks. They're going to trust me with that, right? There is a specific sequence of cards that I recommend going after. So if that's something you guys want to learn on getting that sequence, then comment the word sequence and we'll reach out to you and send you over those resources. Now, the other big thing is average credit age. Typically, the minimum you want of average credit age, I recommend at least 3, but you could get away with 2 years at the very minimum. Because again, if they see you barely started borrowing money, a year ago or last week, you're not going to look like the most trustworthy borrower. So The best way to credit hack this aspect in boosting your credit age is you could get added on to what's called an authorized user. So I recommend, let's say your credit age is super low. So I've done this for like at least almost like 10 of my students that I've worked with now. Was I added them as a credit authorized user for my Wells Fargo cards and my Chase cards, especially the one that's almost like 10 years old, right? And what that does is by being added by an authorized user, let's just say with the Wells Fargo one that's 10 years old, they get to that authorized user is going to report onto their credit profile. Now it looks like they have a credit card that's 10 years old that has a high limit, and that's going to boost their overall average credit age. And with the authorized users, I'll go more in depth on another video on that, but it'll help lower your utilizations, boost your credit age, and optimize the credit profile further. I mentioned earlier, typically you want at least 10,000 average per card between at least 3 cards to make yourself look more attractive. If you don't already have that, this will help. I had a student who literally barely got their first credit card back in like November of 2023. Then by March, once I added him onto the credit profile as an authorized user, literally now it's showing on his credit report that he's got, 40K in total credit. It looks like he has 4 years of credit age, and that all looks more attractive to the banks. So that's how we could credit hack that. Now, next big thing, I kind of already explained this. The other big thing too is just, knowing which banks you already have personal and business accounts with, just because if you have a relationship with them longer, you're just going to look more of a trustworthy borrower. We'll go into business credit cards in a different video. I could go all day on that, but this also lets us know with business credit cards, again, which banks you have a relationship with prior and what your past approvals were for that. Now, with this is very important, is understanding where your LLC is at. And I'll dive deeper into how to properly set up the LLC. But typically, banks, they look at something that's called an NAICS code. And those codes determine your level of risk depending on the industry your business is in. So I don't know if you're a gun store, banks don't like lending out to gun stores or marijuana stores or smoke shops or like restaurants because they're very high risk, right? Something like consulting, that's considered lower risk. And that's a very general umbrella that you could honestly do consulting for anything with. So I like to go with consulting. LLC age, not all banks care about the LLC age. I've helped people get approved for funding with an LLC that was literally a month old. When I opened my Airbnb business, literally that was like maybe 2 months old. And once I applied for a 25K card and a 50K card in a matter of weeks of each other and still got approved. So not every bank cares about it, but the sooner you could get age on it, the better. So I recommend that. 2 years is typically the optimum number. If it's 2 years and older, then hell yeah. If you want to credit hack this part, there are services that sell aged corporations to where, they're already got the age, so they look more attractive to the banks for funding purposes. So if that's something you're interested in, comment aged corps, and I could send you over a resource that I have that might be able to help you guys out with. State LLC is registered in. This is important because we want to know which banks that are specific to that state that you're registered in that you could apply to. There's tons of national banks, but there's even more local banks that you could hit up. So that just widens your opportunity for different funding options. And then other thing is name of LLC. This is important too, because if your business says like Miggles Restaurant, automatically they're going to know, you're a high risk business. So I always like to keep things very general. But that's basically how you guys do a full walkthrough of your credit analysis. I'll let you guys kind of go through this on your own and do Equifax and TransUnion. But those are kind of all the details that the banks are going to look at to determine if you're a trustworthy borrower. Now, there's a lot more that kind of goes into it, but this is going to be a great starting point. If you watch my other videos, I talked about banks wanting to see how not just a trustworthy borrower, but how attractive your business looks like. So that comes with having access to relationship managers, having the scripts of what to say, the data points of what to put on the applications. So there's even more after this, but this again is a great starting point. Now, let me pull this up. Am I still sharing? Share my screen. Boom. Okay, hopefully you guys could see this still. Okay, cool. So that's basically how you guys fill out the credit analysis. That's how we're going to reverse engineer and optimize the different aspects of the credit. Now, that's basically it. I hope you guys got tons of value on this. I know with funding, everybody always has their own unique situation. So it's not always a one size fits all, right? So depending on what's reporting, some things will be weighed a little higher priority than others. So if you want to eliminate the guesswork and get to funding your deals even faster, grow your portfolio, or just want someone to kind of proofread your credit profile, I'll create you your own personal credit game plan. All you got to do is fill this out and follow through on the steps of this video, and then comment the word analysis. If you fill that out, I'll sit down with you one-on-one and give you a full synopsis and recommendations on what you should do. And I'll sit down with you one-on-one how to go through all that. But that's basically it. I appreciate you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was tons and tons of value. This, again, is going to be very important to knowing your starting point A, to getting to your point B of getting hundreds of thousands of dollars and 0% interest business credit for real estate. Again, if you guys want a more faster track way of doing this, then you can DM me directly and we could chat and see if there's any way that we could help you guys out. But as usual, thank you guys. Peace out. Much love. Stay beautiful. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.